What is Wilder doing? Deontay Wilder, who not too long ago was one of the most dominating forces in boxing, is now set to make his return in an unexpected fight against Tyrrell Herndon. So this is the problem with Deontay Wilder's next fight.
Deontay Wilder has had a rough last couple of fights, losing to both Joseph Parker and Zhilei Zhang. And with Wilder being 39 years old, it was really a question on what he's going to do. Is Deontay Wilder going to retire? Is he going to look for a big payday fight to maybe give the fans one more exciting fight like against Anthony Joshua, in which we were waiting to see that for so many years, but it never happened? Or maybe against someone else? But instead, he opted to go for an interesting choice in which he's going to be fighting against Tyrrell Herndon, who is a very underwhelming fight to say the least for the Bronze Bomber, someone who was such a dominating figure in boxing, getting people excited for every fight to see how quickly he would knock out his next opponent, to now fighting this level of caliber towards the tail end of his career. Tyrrell really has not fought any decent competition even. And realistically, this should just be a walkover for Deontay Wilder. He should be able to stop him extremely quick. And to be honest, it's a question why he even came back for this fight.
Yeah, my problem with this fight isn't that just Deontay Wilder is trying to get his confidence back. He's trying to take another tune-up fight because obviously he's coming off of 2 losses in a row, a stoppage loss to Zhang, a decision loss to Parker where he kind of got schooled and outclassed. So I have no issue with him taking a tune-up fight, but my problem is this is still months away and Deontay Wilder's not getting any younger. I understood it when he took on like the likes of Robert Helenius and knocked him out in 1 round and then got back in the mix the next year, but at this point, how much time do we have left? How much time do we have for a rebuild process? There's no point, in my opinion. There are big fights out there. There's Riyadh season, doing it big, putting on massive events. Just get back in the mix if you're gonna make another run. What's the point of fighting these guys that are not as big of names and just probably won't bring as much of a risk in the ring? Even if he gets another devastating knockout, how much does that do for his stock? Does that make him a top heavyweight again? Absolutely not, because it's not the elite level of competition. Sure, he can get some confidence back, but it just doesn't make sense to have a confidence booster at this point in his career at almost 40 years old. He's saying that Anthony Joshua fight is not going to happen at least anytime soon this year, maybe next. Like, we don't have that much time. Deontay Wilder already has been looking to have slowed down, already looking like the mileage is starting to take a toll, and he's not exactly the same fighter that he once was, whether that's the mentality, whether that's the power going a little bit, whether that's just him in the ring not being able to figure it out anymore, or if he's just fighting the better opposition than he ever has. Maybe a combination of them all, but I just don't understand why go down this many levels. Obviously, if you're losing to Zhang, if you're losing to Parker, yeah, go down a level. But just a fight like this doesn't really make sense in my opinion. I don't think it does him any favors. To put this into perspective, in Efe Ajagba's first pro boxing match, he fought Herndon and dropped him, knocked him out in 1 round in his pro debut. Now, Wilder, he's had almost 50 fights so far in his career against all kinds of different level of opposition, and we're going from Zhilei Zhang to Anthony Herndon, a guy who just got stopped in 2 rounds less than 2 years ago to Richard Torres Jr. in his 6th ever pro fight. Now we got Deontay Wilder, who's making almost his 50th walk to the ring and fighting this level of opposition. It just doesn't make sense. It's not the worst thing in the world, but I feel like this tune-up should have already happened if he was gonna have it. Like, we don't have much time. If you want to get back in the mix, you got to do big fights. You got to beat someone and put on a statement. Then you can get that Anthony Joshua fight. Then you can get those big money fights, but it seems like he's kind of comfortable now. But if he does think he's going to make another run or something, or try to get back at the heavyweight mix, this is just not the way to do it at all. I understand Wilder has already been heavyweight champion. He's already done a lot, and it seems like he's not the same guy. He's already beat the likes of Luis Ortiz. Obviously, those wars with Tyson Fury, then recently on Riyadh season, not doing too great. So I'm not taking anything away from his career as a whole. He's kind of just made a reputation for putting on these emphatic, impressive knockout performances, but even if he gets another knockout and impressive performance, it doesn't really do much besides just another highlight reel added to the resume, which Wilder already has over 40 of those.
Yeah, exactly. I'd see if maybe he wanted to give the fans one last final highlight before he goes out. But that doesn't seem like that's the case. It seems like he thinks he might be able to rebuild again, which just doesn't make sense. Deontay Wilder is already very much known for not having the best footwork, not having the best technique, especially at heavyweight too, and getting older is not going to help his case. Yes, power does typically go last in a boxer, but for Deontay, it just won't help him much against the top elite guys like an Usyk, like a Fury even who's taken losses but would still be Wilder again, and who already has for 3 times in a row. I think what Wilder should have done is take those fun, exciting fights. What would have been a perfect fight for him, honestly, would have been Francis Ngannou. Sure, both guys coming off losses. Francis Ngannou getting knocked out by Anthony Joshua and Wilder having 2 losses in a row. But fans have always wanted to know who's the hardest hitting guy in combat sports, especially at heavyweight with these two destroyers who are proven to be massive punchers, massive hitters. I feel like this would be the perfect way. They get a huge money fight, a huge fight probably in Saudi. They get to put on one last show. And sure, maybe it's possible it'll still happen. Ngannou has been switching from boxing to MMA and still has the option to come back to boxing. But I don't know if that's really in Wilder's path. It's kind of unnecessary risk too. If he loses, it could just damage his reputation and his legacy even further. I mean, at this point, it's not like people view Wilder as one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, but to lose to Francis Ngannou would definitely not be a good look. And especially if he lost to Tyrrell too, this would be the ultimate stain on his legacy. Yes, he hasn't been looking too good, but Tyrrell really has no one on his resume even close to Deontay Wilder. This is going to be the guy's first big event, big fight. And like you've said, Wilder has made a career out of beating guys, of course, better than Tyrrell, but in comparison, similar to him. So if he's not able to win this fight, it really shows that he's gone and he should retire. And it is also kind of surprising he's waiting off for retirement even further. He was talking about potentially retiring even as far back as the Robert Helenius fight, and it seemed like it was very possible he'd be gone soon. But ever since he's had 2 fights, 2 losses, and he's still not retired after those losses and seems like he wants to come back. So it's kind of a mystery what's on the mind of Deontay Wilder, but I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah, I guess this is just a warm-up fight, just a get-back fight for Deontay Wilder to just prove to himself that he could still do it, to prove to himself that he still has that one-punch, one-hitter, quitter, knockout power, which I understand from his point of view why you would want to tune up, especially if you can't lock in a big money fight, but there's not even much to gain here. If you just wait out for the likes of Anthony Joshua or Francis Ngannou, at least then you can have a big fight, at least then you can get paid with a big bag. He said he's looking to have multiple fights this year. He said he's probably not going to fight AJ this year. He said, I got to get myself back together first and foremost, and I got to prove to myself that I'm back together like I feel. So for me, I just don't know if that's the right mindset at this point for Deontay Wilder to go back at this much in levels looking for an Anthony Joshua fight down the line when you're not going to get any younger, you're not going to get any fresher or any better. At this point, this is the best he's going to get. He's 39 years old. By the end of the year, he's going to be 40. He's only going to get slower, maybe not as strong, maybe not as motivated. I just don't see the point. But the real reason I have a problem with it is because I just like to see Deontay back in the mix. If he is going to come back, it should be against guys who should be in there with him. It shouldn't be against guys who he seems to have been way beyond for all these years. Coming back down to this level, I'd like to see him in those big fights if he is going to return, but regardless, he is coming back. He's probably going to put on an emphatic performance, and then maybe I'm going to come back and say, you know what, it was good he did that. It was good that he just had one last hurrah for the fans, for the supporters. But regardless, let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. What is your take on Deontay Wilder versus Tyrrell Herndon? And if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and check out the video on screen on what happened to Wilder.